The next startup that I'll announce on stage is actually a Caribbean startup that is bringing the right kind of plastic to his home country. Let's welcome Chad from Ching.
Ik heb de skills, baby. Ik heb de feel, baby. Ik heb de groove, baby. Ik heb de groove, baby. Ik heb daar de drang. Ik heb daar de drang. Ik heb de skills, baby. Ik heb de feel, baby. Ik heb de mood, baby. Ik heb de groove, baby. Ik heb daar de drang. Ik heb daar de drang.
All right, Chad. I actually asked the first question to you because I just love your name, and I want to know Ching-a-ling, what does it mean?
Okay, Nick. What is the universal sound of money?
I thought it might be.
Ka-ching, cha-ching. Sound transverses languages, so we wanted something that would definitely resonate with people, no matter if they spoke Dutch or French or English or Spanish, because these are all spoken in the Caribbean. And we wanted something that would resonate with people around the world, even Mandarin. So that's why we chose the name Ching.
Good choice.
Ching, ka-ching. So, Chad, please tell me, what's the purpose? And why? Why should anyone care that this exists?
Well, in the developed worlds, small businesses have the tools that they need to excel and to get a running start. This is just not the case in the Caribbean. And because of that, there's a hinder on the economy. There is this pain that's created for all the people that want to travel to the Caribbean and expect to pay with card and find out that they can't. So our purpose is to bridge this gap, is to alleviate the pain that all the tourists are getting while traveling there and the visitors are getting, and to allow all the small businesses to partake in the economy and do their role.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Chad, take it away.
Thank you. No cash, no problem, man. Ching is the thing. Everyone in the Netherlands and Europe already knows the pains associated with having to get and use cash. These pains are even more so felt when having to travel, especially to my neck of the woods in the Caribbean. But no worries, we're working and we're solving these pains. Ching has created a mobile app that allows you to accept credit card on any device, anytime, anywhere. It's as simple as using the camera to scan the card, letting the customer sign with their finger, and sending a receipt. With Ching, there's no need to go to the bank. Simply download the app and sign up in minutes. The app is easy and free to install and use, and we make 1% of every transaction with an additional small monthly fee. We can also settle into any local bank, and we do this all with the utmost security in mind. Only 1 out of every 3 businesses in the Caribbean has the ability to accept credit cards. Here are what some of these businesses look like. These businesses cannot accept cards even though they interact daily with people who prefer to pay using card. With just a small group of 80 users, we've done over 2,500 transactions that is equated to over $200,000 in volumes. We make 1% of this volume. We have strong team members with business backgrounds at the large Fortune 500 companies because we know we need strong team members to grow our volumes. With a small core team and a number of advisors, we've been able to achieve quite a bit. We also have strong business partners. Scotiabank is a well-positioned bank throughout the entire Caribbean region, and First Data is a well-positioned processor throughout the world. With the help of Present Your Startup earlier in August in Curacao, we announced a key partnership with Curaçao's finest payments provider, CXPay. So this Ching thing didn't just start yesterday. We've been doing transactions since 2016. We started growing throughout the Caribbean this year, and we intend to focus on regional and global scaling in the years to come. With 2 years of transactions under our belt, we've noticed that each one of our merchants, on average per year, does about $4,500 in card sales. They do about 50 transactions per year, which means we can make about $225 per merchant. Keeping this in mind, we intend to scale to over 2,500 merchants by 2020 and leverage that growth to continue growing in the years to come. The Caribbean is quite a large market. There's 44 million people that reside there. There's 30 million plus visitors that come through every year, and there's over 2 million merchants. This is just the size of the Caribbean. If we wanted to scale to the US, to South America, to Europe, numbers are in the hundreds of millions. To get to this market, we need to support online payments, we need to support iOS and Apple devices, and get to chip cards, all to reach 2,500 users by 2020. We also need investment to make this happen. So we're asking for around 250,000 euros for roughly 10% of the company. Ching provides even the smallest businesses with an efficient means of capturing card payments. This empowers those businesses and elevates the economy, and eliminates the pain of using cash for all of us. Dank u wel.
Dankjewel, dankjewel. All right.
So I'm seeing there's actually something up on the screen right now. Crowd support, Ching.exchange.
Yeah, if anyone wants to contribute and support our cause and what we're doing, there's an option to visit our website at ching.exchange, and you'll see a crowdfunding on the bottom of that if anyone in the crowd wants to support and get involved.
Nice.
Thank you. First question by the judges.
And cheeky.
Thank you so much for your speech. Very powerful.
Thank you.
Loads of questions, but one of the most important things is for me is, are there any local players on this field? And are there any worldwide competitors in the Caribbean field?
Okay, and when you say local players, you're just meaning the Caribbean region?
Caribbean, yes.
Yes, okay. So right now, there's lots of global players, Square, PayPal, Stripe. There's players here in the Netherlands and Europe, but they're not operating in the Caribbean region. They don't view it as a cohesive region, but I do. And it's a small region. If you grew up in Europe, if you grew up in the US, you're not looking for other regions that are small to grow to. You're looking for huge regions. So that's one of the things that I think has kept us a little bit under the radar for growing for these big companies. And locally in the region, we are the first aggregator to market. So we're leading that stance, and all the other competitors are not competitors. They're what's the word? There's some alternative with banks, but they're not aggregating. They're not providing service to all the banks. They're just one-off solutions just by the bank that doesn't service everyone.
Great pitch. Thank you very much. Could you elaborate a little bit more on the safety of this solution? Because I didn't quite get that. Why
a
this
banking
is
question.
Yep. I take that as a security question. Our system is certified by First Data, one of the largest payment processors in the world. We encrypt a lot within our system. We triple encrypt. We encrypt as soon as the card number is scanned in. We encrypt if there's any data at rest and that's being buffered for a period of time. We encrypt as we send it through our backend servers, and we even encrypt it at the application layer within the app. And then a third part of that is we don't store credit card numbers. Right. So as soon as, or card numbers, as soon as a transaction happens, we do that transaction, then we drop all that data. So we're not a big honeypot that's just accumulating all these cards. We get hacked, and then 500 million cards are breached because we don't even store the cards.
Right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good question. You don't encrypt. You do encrypt, you don't store.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Particularly on these small enterprises, this is a big market. I think there are 4 billion people with less than $5 earnings per day, and I think this is the market you're looking for. If you want to expand about, beyond the Caribbean, are the partners you have on board, do you have presence in those markets, or do you need other partners as well?
Thank you, Hans. Yeah, First Data has presence throughout the Caribbean very well, and they have presence internationally very well. They're one of the largest payment processors in the world. CXPay, which is one of the key providers from Curacao, has the ability to settle into any merchant that's in North America, South America, Europe, and we haven't tested any Asian connections yet. But they get us to 3 immediately huge markets, and they function within 24 of the Caribbean islands there. So those partners are helping us grow, they're helping us scale. We still need more, we still need banks on board, we still need the large card brands on board.
So you just mentioned a couple of your competitors. When you go global, what's your unique advantage? What's gonna...
Yeah, okay. One advantage that we find critical being in the Caribbean is no hardware. There's no extra hardware. This is only functioning on a phone that the merchant already has with a bank account that they already have. And that's key for us. It's what allows us to scale because the distribution networks in the Caribbean are not good networks. If you need to get a product, a piece of hardware from one island to the next, it takes a long time. Costs are extremely high. And then when it gets there, it's centralized, and then that has to be distributed to even smaller islands. So that doesn't work well for us, and that's going to be one key advantage that we will have moving into the developed worlds is we're completely hardware-less, which allows us to scale quicker, sooner, faster, and differentiates us.
I think one of the biggest challenges you have is to get the merchants in. Is it an advantage that you are a local player? And how do you get your customers in? So
Yes. You're right. Onboarding is something that's tricky for us and tricky for every player in the market. And that's the part that we're really creating the most value in, quickly onboarding a merchant to get them transacting in as short amount of time as possible. It is tricky. We do have an advantage being local because we know the market well, we know the culture well, we know the people well. Being in the Caribbean, there's all these different colonies from different nations, right? And the local people really come together and sleep well at night, knowing that one of their own is doing a good service in their region and going globally. So that is a unspoken advantage in the region.
Any more questions outside of the most important people, of course? We have questions here. I see one hand there. I saw somewhere a hand.
Yes, sir.
Chad, thanks for your pitch. You've mentioned, and I've read the numbers when it comes to local residents of the Caribbean, but also the tourists. You said that 1/3 of the merchants don't have credit card facilities. Can you give us the numbers for the whole Caribbean of your potential market?
Okay. The numbers for the potential market immediately in the Caribbean sits at 2 million merchants, right? We're less than 100 right now, and we intend to grow to 2,500 before 2020. And even if we grow to high numbers that you saw on the chart, which is 60,000 merchants, that's still just a fraction of the total potential size of 2 million merchants. So that's the total numbers in that area.
I think there's a small follow-up here. I'm curious to see what's next.
Getting the vendors on board is crucial. I've seen some faces and names. Do you have good marketeers on board already, or do you need to hire them?
We have a new marketing director who's here in the Netherlands with us today. Her name's Angel Cameron. She's went to the back. She's waving in the back.
She's at the back.
She works, she just closed up a job with one of the largest law firms in the company. She was head of their operations and then dabbled in a lot of marketing and helps marketing around the region. So she's slowly being attracted towards the team. We'll be using her, but we need more people involved with marketing. Marketing is going to be one of our most challenging things to get the word out there quickly, to grow quickly. So we're looking for more support, but we already have people on the team that have a good grasp on how to grow and that understand the culture in the Caribbean.
Thank you. And I see we have another question here at the back.
All right. Few questions. Who is the acquirer and the issuer behind your platform?
Okay. The acquiring partner is Scotiabank. They're helping us get to, because they're so well positioned in the Caribbean, they're the acquiring partner. We don't have an issuing partner at the moment. It'd be nice to get a major one, but the issuing banks, for example, for visitors, if visitors are coming from the US, it's US issuing banks. If they're coming from Europe, it's European issuing banks. If they're coming from Asia, it's Asia issuing banks. And we don't need them as a partner to perform the services we need to. But if we had them, that would be great because it makes the conversation with other banks, with other processors, with other regulators in different regions, it eases that process. So we don't have an issuing one, but wouldn't mind getting one.
Sure. Last question. What do you do with the kickback? Not the kickback, but the
returns.
Refunds. I'm sorry. Yeah. I was looking for that word. For
what
example, when I pay something with my app, and I will return the product later to the merchant. Who's responsible for the?
We perform any refund as any other regular transaction. It's the merchant to refund their product and refund their customer, and once they run it through the card system, we just perform a refund like a normal transaction. So it's not an issue for us. The merchant has to accept the refund from the individual, but we don't have any issues with that right now. And we're not doing online web payments as yet, so we haven't had any issues with the refunds at mass level.
All right, thank you
I shouldn't say as yet. We're doing it in a small amount already, but we haven't had any issues with that.
Thank you. I see there's another question over on this side of the floor.
Yeah, good evening. One thing that occurs to me is one of the reasons why these kind of merchants people do their business with cash is because they don't have to pay taxes on all the transactions they do. Are you providing any advisory or information to them once they have a bank account and their clients are paying with credit cards? Then the government is able to track all of their earnings. What happens when at the end of the year, for example, they get something in the mail saying, hey, you have to pay your taxes now? Because once the first merchant gets this kind of notification, all of the others are going to be like, wait, what? So, yeah, that's my question.
We don't provide any tax advisory services at the moment. If we grow into sizable markets and start doing pivoting our footstep, we might provide some of those professional services. How to answer that is making the transactions transparent to the bank doesn't mean you're making them transparent to the government. It's still on the merchant to have to file their taxes, do all their legal rights, because the systems aren't as tied together as you think they are. The governments will hate me for saying this, but the governments aren't that active in collecting tax from their citizens in the Caribbean.
And in the end, we know.
And we don't want them to be, okay?
He's not supporting any of this. In the end, if people have plastic, they pay more because you always have to get cash. It's a hassle.
And the government's like this because this grows their economy, which means they have more taxable dollars. So it's not a lose situation in any means. It's a win-win situation for the government, for their budget, for the merchants, for everyone.
You got me on board, eh? You got to get them on board. All right, give them a hand.